Brute power armor is a slight misnomer, as we've already found in our most detailed breakdown of brute power armor. By power armor, it is less about the armor assisting the speed and strength of the user, but more about the fact that the armor itself is powered to make it a non-explosive reactive armor, basically a kind of energy shield. But instead of projecting it an inch or so above the plate, it actually uses the energy to discharge into a projectile, thereby mitigating its kinetic effects by almost flash vaporizing it. Brutes, after all, are phenomenally powerful and thus don't particularly have a need for an armor system that increases their strength and speed. They don't have a need for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean they wouldn't want powered exoskeletons nonetheless. Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00 and part 3 of our 4-part series on the Banished, pending new Halo Infinite news due in just a couple of days. We have already done a most detailed breakdown on brute power armor, up to the end of the Human Covenant War, and we've done a lore and theory video on the origin and history of the Banished from an ideological standpoint, and its differences to the Covenant. We still have an Armory video on known Banished weapons due in part 4, and today we do our mini, most detailed breakdown on brute powered exoskeletons. Brutes don't need powered exoskeletons. Thank you for watching. Stick your comments down below. I'm joking, but I'm kinda not at the same time. Brutes don't need powered exoskeletons, but the Banished decided they wanted them anyway. Not all brutes within the Banished appear to wear powered exoskeletons, but there are definitely examples of them, and we can even infer some information on the power generated by them from what we have seen. So before we look at what they can do, let's first identify the known examples of powered exoskeletons. The vast majority of the lesser ranking brutes appear to simply wear an up-armoured suit of armour that is likely very reminiscent of the brutes' original armour suits worn before their integration into the Covenant, bearing in mind the brutes achieved spaceflight on their own and then succumbed to their baser instincts and fought their way back to a pre-industrial state. At the height of their independent technology, suits of armour with integrated exo-atmospheric systems and the like were probably very common, and thus after the fall of the Covenant, it wouldn't be at all surprising to find the brutes adopting their original style and function, augmented by the more advanced energy-based systems of the Covenant. It can be easily seen in certain permutations of the Banished brute armour, the Covenant-inspired additions. Indeed, some suits even look like heavily modified Covenant-era brute power armour. This is particularly apparent in Aatrox's chieftains. They wear a very obviously up-armoured and modified chieftain power armour. The headdress, arrangement, configuration and general form are nearly identical to these earlier suits. The powered exoskeletons, however, appear to be used almost, although not entirely, by the higher ranks directly under Aatrox himself. These suits are much larger than the average suits. They have integrated 2-section helmets that can be put on and off by simply bringing the mouthguard up to the face. The rest is completely automated. These suits, despite being so large, do not inhibit the movement of the user at all, and in some cases have sections of armour that will move out of the way should the movement of the individual necessitate it. While we have already established that the earlier power armour weighs half a ton, and is unpowered, thus demonstrating that the brutes are more than strong enough to move in these suits, the fact that these plates have been witnessed to retract or extend to maintain coverage but avoid physically impeding the movement of the wearer shows that these suits contain movement systems far more advanced than initially thought. But there are some more outwardly obvious examples of powered exoskeletons worn by the Banished. The very suit worn by Aatrox himself and his second-in-command Decimus are prime examples. Decimus' suit is closer to the Mark I and Mark II platforms of Mjolnir, much larger and bulkier than a more form-fitting suit, in truth probably closer to a Cyclops suit or the prototype suit that was piloted by Ghost. It features a large 3-clawed mechanical hand that is worn by Decimus like a glove, although it is connected to the main body of the suit via a heavy-duty articulated support structure, and also features an energy mace extension to the left arm which extends out in front of his left hand by nearly an entire arm's length again. This is also connected to the main body of the suit by heavy-duty articulated structures. The body of the suit is primarily a backpack type rig. This contains the suit's power source, which is currently unknown, and all of the relevant circuitry to power the articulation of the suit. The exoskeletons also feature up-armoured heavy-duty leg assemblies. These make Decimus much taller than normal. The legs are powered and function primarily as load-bearing structures of the powered exoskeleton, so Decimus doesn't feel the weight of the suit himself. Decimus's powered exoskeleton can be thought of more as a weaponized industrial equipment in its overall appearance, function, and design. Atriox, on the other hand, while his suit is overall much less bulky than Decimus's, there is no mistaking its power. Very little is known about Atriox's powered exoskeleton, how it is powered and to what extent. Is it just the hands that are powered, or just the arms and legs, or is the entire suit powered in one way or another? Simply, we do not know at this time. However, Atriox has been witnessed using this suit in combat, and from these observations we can infer a fairly decent amount of information. Primarily, we're going to be looking at this scene, the scene where Atriox effortlessly engages 3 Spartan 2s in close quarters combat and wins. But it is worth clarifying what is and is not a definitive instance of powered exoskeleton functionality and just Atriox's innate strength. For example, grabbing Alice by the throat and lifting her off the floor. At first glance, this could be worthy of an instance where Atriox uses his exoskeleton above his own strength. However, during Operation First Strike, when Blue Team encountered brutes within the unyielding Hierophant for the first time, a completely unarmoured brute grabbed John by the throat, lifted him off the floor and pinned him to a column. His energy shields were drained as a consequence of the brute's phenomenally powerful grip, and despite the armouring and padding around the neck, the brute applied enough pressure to cause John to nearly black out. It was due to John's quick thinking and understanding of using an opponent's mass and strength against them that he managed to escape. He waited for his shields to begin to recharge, creating a tiny amount of repulsion against the brute's grip, called himself up and twisted and kicked his way out of the choking grip. This demonstrates that an unarmoured brute is capable of holding half a ton of armour in the air with one hand and apply enough pressure to choke out a Spartan. So this particular exploit of Atriox is in line with a brute's normal strength. The next big instance of power demonstrated by Atriox is the moment he grabs Douglas by the shoulder and squeezes. Again, focus is put on the armoured gauntlet of Atriox's armour as he bears down on Douglas's shoulder, and while there is sparking and Douglas screams out in pain, when Atriox does release him, the armour over Douglas's shoulder is still intact. There are a few scratch marks, but it is otherwise okay. However, I believe this to be a consequence of the animation process of this scene, because later when Alice drops Douglas into the passenger chair of the Warthog, Douglas's entire left shoulder armour is crumpled and destroyed. Add to this that a Spartan's bones are augmented with a carbide ceramic ossification, making their bones nearly unbreakable. Atriox applied enough force in this grip to crumple up to 2 inches of solid titanium A armour plating, and judging by the size of Atriox's hands and the fact that Douglas loses consciousness, Atriox likely shattered Douglas's collarbone, entire shoulder including the shoulder blade, the upper humerus, and likely his upper 3 ribs in several places. The amount of force required to do this is immense. Just moments later, Aatrox picks up Douglas's dislodged helmet and squeezes it in his palm. As he does so, the visor shatters and the armor plating of the helmet crumples under his grip. He managed to significantly deform the armor plating by up to 2 inches in places. The helmet of Mjolnir features up to 1 inch of titanium A alloy armor plating. This demonstration of strength is far beyond the strength of a brute on its own. From this alone, we can deduce, within a margin of error, the strength of Aatrox's powered exoskeleton. To do this, we'll have to accept some logical assumptions. First, that the proportional strength of the muscles of a brute's body are approximately the same as a human, and second, that his armour will be designed to amplify force to this same proportion. To explain this, on average, human legs are approximately twice as strong as human arms. As such, if we were to build armour to the same proportional power, the legs of the armour would need to be twice as powerful as the arms. Substitute these figures for the brute anatomy, and that's what we're ultimately running with. Okay, now we need some base level average brute strength. If we use our human proportional strength idea, we can extrapolate this very rapidly. The average human with training, since we are talking about human and brute soldiers here, is capable of lifting approximately their own body weight, or around 62 kilograms. Brutes, on average, weigh around 600 kilograms. Considering a male silverback gorilla can weigh up to 200 kilograms, that's probably pretty accurate given that brutes are around 8.5 to 9 feet tall. It's quoted as between 510 kilograms and 680, so I figured 600 wasn't pushing it too much. This means, assuming their strength is proportional, a brute should be able to lift 600 kilograms. Putting it within reason that a particularly strong brute manhandled John in First Strike. So when compared, a brute is approximately 10 times stronger than a human. An average human's grip strength can be up to 57 kilograms of force. Anything higher than 57.5 is considered very strong. Using this same proportion, this suggests that a brute's grip strength should be up to 570 kilograms of force. Now we have some numbers to work with. So going back to the moment Aatrox crushes Douglas's helmet, remember that the helmet has 0.5 to 1 inch of titanium A alloy as its armor plating, and Aatrox crumpled it by up to 2 inches in some places. In order to crush a single 1 inch cubed block of pure titanium takes 60,000 kilograms of force. In the description you'll find a link over to the hydraulic press channel where he just so happens to test the deformation characteristics of a 1 inch block of titanium alongside other metals. There, he notes 60,000 kilograms of force to deform and over 105,000 to severely compress. Now the characteristics of a single inch cube of titanium versus the convex titanium alloy plating is difficult to infer. However, if I'm really conservative with the force, thickness and composition, I'd be comfortable saying that the force required to crumple the armour on Douglas's helmet would be around 6,000 kilograms of force. That is 10 times less than the demonstrable force required in the hydraulic press channels video, but also around 10 times more force than a brute can generate on their own. I'm working with a lot of vagaries here, but if we run with these numbers, then we come to the conclusion that Aatrox's powered exoskeleton increases his strength by a factor of 10, at the very least. This puts Aatrox and other brutes wearing these kinds of powered exoskeletons as very significant threats to Spartans. The subtle implementation of this kind of law and the incidents we have seen this new Banished technology being used is paving the way for the Banished to be a major threat in Halo Infinite. Either a major threat or a major ally. In either case, humanity spent the years since the end of the Human Covenant War as the giants of the galaxy. The Banished have arrived, to redefine what giant really is. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below, I look forward to what you have to say. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons: Neek the Silent Cartographer, Brian, Sebastian, Red Sea, Darian, Stalker of the Realms, Falcon X003, Alvin DW, Flaming Halo and the Revanche, the holders of the mantle, my glorious reclaimers, my loyal METARCHs, and all the other patrons that have jumped aboard to support the channel. You guys are awesome, and all of this wouldn't be possible without you. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there. It would mean the world to me and would free up more of my time for me to put into this content and other Halo related goodness. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.